Hey friends, welcome to my garden. Right now, I have a ton of basil growing in my garden and in my basement grow room. And one of my favorite things to do with basil is to make pesto, make a big batch of it and freeze it so I can always pull out a little bit at a time and use it when I'm making dinner. So let's harvest some basil, bring it in the kitchen, and make some pesto. Hey guys, welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how I make my pesto. So I washed my basil and took it off the stems. I don't worry as much about washing my hydroponic basil that I grow in my basement, but I definitely want to wash the basil that I grow outdoors in my garden because it might have some soil splashed up on it or some bugs. So washed that, took it off the stem. Right here I have about 6 cups of basil that I'm going to be using for this recipe. I'm going to be using my Cuisine Art food processor. This is a 9-cup size, which is pretty good size for making a large amount of pesto. I also have 1/4 cup of olive oil, 2 cloves of garlic peeled, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and 1/2 cup of walnuts. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, we're going to take the garlic, the walnuts, and the salt, and put it in the food processor. Run it for about 10-15 seconds until it gets chopped up. Just like that. Now we want to start packing in our basil into the food processor. And I have a lot of basil, so I'm going to have to do this little by little. If you don't have a food processor, you could probably get away with using a blender for this. Alright, top back on, and then we're just going to pulse the basil, let it get chopped up until we have enough room to put in more basil. Basil. At this point, we're going to want to scrape it down a little bit with the spatula and push it down into the food processor to give it a little help. Give it another scrape and add the rest of the basil. Great. Now that we have our basil chopped with our walnuts, garlic, and salt, we're going to slowly add in some premium olive oil until we get the consistency we like. Poured about half of it in, and now I'm going to scrape down the sides. Give it one more scrape, make sure you have nice and chopped up fine. If there's a little olive oil pooled in on the bottom, just give it a little mix with the spatula real quick. I'm just going to give it one more quick little run. Alright, so our basil's done, nice and easy. We have the consistency that I like. Now I'm going to remove this and put it in a container for storage. So you notice I didn't add Parmesan cheese to my basil pesto because I plan on freezing this, and Parmesan cheese doesn't really freeze well. So I like to make my batch of pesto, freeze it, and when I'm ready to use it, I'll cut off a chunk, put it in a bowl, microwave it, then I'll add it to my recipes, then I'll add some Parmesan cheese or some butter, whatever I need to do. I kind of use this as a pesto base, and then I add whatever I want to it as I'm preparing my meal. It's ready to eat now, but you're going to want to let this sit for about 30 minutes before you eat it, so the garlic and the basil, they all have time to, the flavors will have time to mix together. I reserved some of the olive oil because when I put them in the container, I'm going to want to drizzle olive oil on top of each container because the basil will spoil fast if it's not covered. It'll start to turn brown, and you put a nice coat of olive oil on top of it and you pack it down tight, and it'll last longer. It'll last about 5 days in the refrigerator, but I like to freeze it. So I'll fill up about 2 or 3 containers worth, freeze 2 of them, keep one in the fridge, and use it for the next few days. I've even heard some people like to use an ice cube tray and make little ice cube size pesto blocks that you can just add to your recipes. It's a good idea. I just haven't tried doing it yet. I just fill up a couple containers and just cut a piece off and use it that way. It smells so good. Love that smell of fresh basil. Alright, so I'm going to want to pack the basil down, get out any air pockets. And then we're going to want to drizzle some oil over top to make sure that it's completely covered with oil. And there you go. Gonna put one of these in the freezer and one in the fridge. And later we'll be having some pesto pasta for dinner. Alright guys, I hope you liked that video. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you like my videos, make sure you give them a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I love talking to you guys about the food I cook at home and grow in my garden, and look forward to putting out more videos like this for you guys. Alright, stay healthy, friends.